Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Let us start the session with the front page. Let us have a look at the headlines and see what is there to learn. Excuse me. The main news item, United Nations calls for ceasefire in Gaza during month of Ramzan. Here, yesterday also I think we got call for. Call for means what? It's a phrasal verb, demand, demand for. Calls for what? Ceasefire. Imagine two countries are fighting and there's a demand for ceasefire. It means they have to stop fighting for some time. Coming to the next news item, 14 injured in fire at a Mahakal temple in Madhya Pradesh. Here, when you see, there are two types of, you can say, very good pandu. Ceasefire, truce, armistice. Please have a look at the comment box. Those are very important words given by Pandu, commented by Pandu. And fire, when you come across a particular word, casual reading, you look at the word fire. But exam point of view, you have to be a smart learner. You have to recollect words like inferno, fire, and conflagration, another word. And also you have to recollect the phrasal verb break out. Break out means to start suddenly. A fire broke out in the city last night. A fire started suddenly in the city last night. Coming to the next news item, EU probe into tech giants for violation of new law may trigger hefty fines. Here, probe, we have got so many times, investigation. And also another word here, hefty fines. Hefty means heavy, not a small amount, huge, heavy fine, we say hefty fine. The next news item, will Sangh Parivar renounce? Renounce means to give up something, to abandon something, to leave something. And Bharat Mata Ki Jai, that is a headline, but there's one word, renounce, an important word. You can renounce your resources, your power, your wealth, any of these. These are the news items from the front page. A few words you can learn from these news items or headlines. Let us go to editorial page and see what is there to learn. Coming to the editorial page, we have today's editorial. I think I have done twice or thrice. Sordid scheme. It is about electoral bonds, but some important words are there. And it is a final one. I suppose we got a complete picture, near complete picture. And the other one is about the terror attack in Moscow, where 135 people got killed. The main editorial, a dissonant chord in the world of Carnatic music. When we talk about music, we talk about harmony. Imagine harmony. Harmonious means nothing disturbs you while listening to music, but a particular note disturbs, and we say dissonant chord, disturbing chord, disturbing element. That's what it means. And the next one, China, I want to be superpower. Want to be superpower, easy to understand. Now let us go to vocabulary from based on today's editorial. The first one, sordid. Sordid we got a few times. Part of speech adjective involving immoral or dishonorable actions and motives, arousing moral distaste and contempt. Something that is negative, something that is not acceptable, that's something that is not morally acceptable. Immoral, dishonorable actions. It's a negative word, completely negative word. Sordid, depraved, turpitude. Very good. Who is this? Pandu. I appreciate that. Nefarious has a different meaning. You can use that also. Illegal. Cronyism, we have got for the first time. Cronyism means the appointment of friends and associates to positions of authority without proper regard to their qualifications. But in this context, I would like to give another word, important word, nepotism. Nepotism means here it talks about cronyism, talks about appointment of friends and associates to positions of authority without proper regard to their qualifications. On the other hand, nepotism favoring, favoring relatives and friends. Relatives and friends, we use the word nepotism. That is also an important word. And the third word, tranche. Tranche, part of speech noun, a portion of something, especially money. You can also think of the word we have in the editorial, chunk, a large part of something, tranche or chunk. Prod, verb prodded, it's a regular verb. To push something or someone with your finger or without a point or with a pointed object. But in this context, it does not mean that is a literal meaning. In this context, being pushed by the Supreme Court, SBI being pushed by the Supreme Court, prodded by the Supreme Court. Chunks, as I said, chunk also means the same. A part of something, especially a large part of something. Large part of something, a major chunk. We also use the idiom lion's share. He always wants a lion's share. Means what? Ah, very good. Who is that? Pandu. Ah, today you are responding so well. I appreciate. Indictment. Here you got to be careful with pronunciation. Indictment. Part of speech noun. A formal charge or accusation of a serious crime. Officially, formally, you accuse someone of a crime that is known as indictment. And cursory glance, cursory look, usual combinations, part of speech adjective. Hasty and therefore not thorough or detailed. Quick look at something, hasty and therefore not thorough or detailed. Then we say cursory look. Propound a verb, propounded a regular verb. Put forward an idea or theory for consideration by others. You put forward a theory, you propose a theory, you propound a theory. They all mean the same. Invariably, I use quite often. Invariably, part of speech, obviously adverb. In every case, on every occasion, always. Invariably means without any exception. Always. Curry favor is an idiom. To seek to gain favor by flattery or attention. What is the meaning of the word flattery? Flattery means false praise. You praise someone, but it is not sincere. False praise, we use the term flattery. And why do people resort to flattery? They want some gains. Then we use the word curry favor. It is an idiomatic expression. Skew, we have got so many times. Every time I tell it goes with designers, DTP operators. Design, a particular image is skewed, means a distorted. Make biased or distorted in a way that is regarded as inaccurate, unfair, or misleading. Here, skew means to distort something, and based on the distortion, it looks inaccurate, unfair, or misleading. It's a negative word, obviously. Unscrupulous, an important word. Scrupulous means to show or to follow morals, values, principles. Unscrupulous, having or showing no moral principles, not honest or fair. Unscrupulous elements of society, unwanted elements of society. Usually I use these two. Unscrupulous, a negative term. It means dishonest, also, you can say. Wonderful. And skullduggery, dishonest, unscrupulous, good, very good. Now we have Anusha also adding, and Adi Lakshmi. Wonderful. I appreciate you guys. Let us go to the editorial. At the outset, I would like to say this editorial related to electoral bonds. I think this is the third article, third editorial. In the past, I did twice. This is the third time. I hope it will be the final one, and chances are very bright for that. The reason being, now the picture is very clear. Because the picture is very clear, they may not write about electoral bonds in the near future. Chances are very bleak. What is this about? This editorial is about the controversial electoral bond scheme and its implications, consequences for electoral financing, transparency, and potential corruption. This is a major reason for worry. Electoral bond scheme and implications for electoral financing, transparency, and potential corruption, possible corruption. When you look at the word corruption, you have to think of a particular word, Corruption is rampant. We use the word rampant. Rampant means what? Widespread. In a particular country, imagine corruption is widespread. Then what do you say? In that country, corruption is rampant. Rampant goes with corruption. It also goes with diseases, epidemics, and pandemics. What is the tone of the editorial? Because this has become highly controversial, definitely it has to use two negative terms or one negative term. The tone of the editorial is critical, criticizing, and accusatory. Grease the palm. Who is this? Naidu Paidi. Very good. I appreciate that. And accusatory, accusation, allegation, accusatory. Both are negative words. How does it start? Sordid scheme, something that is not morally acceptable, something that is not correct. Scheme. Which scheme are we talking about? On the electoral bond scheme and electoral financing. This scheme has been used to finance campaigns at the time of elections or canvassing at the time of elections. And the whole thing seems to be a little fishy and not legally acceptable. But what is the main idea of this? Matching electoral bond purchases and donors reveals cronyism and corruption. Matching two groups or two sources or two parties or two entities. One, electoral bond purchases, and the other, donors, reveals cronyism and corruption. Two negative words. Hmm. Good. Have a look at those words as well, posted by, commented by a few students that are doing very good job. I appreciate. I'm not getting time to read all those words. I request you guys to have a look at the comment box and learn. You can learn a lot. Following the Supreme Court of India ordered release of the final tranche of data from the State Bank of India, it has now been possible to get a nearly complete picture. It has now put that word in brackets. Now tell me which tense is that? Spill the beans. Very good. It has been possible. Answer my question. Which tense is this? Following the Supreme Court of India ordered release of the final tranche of data from State Bank of India, it has been possible. Which tense is that? And is it active voice or passive voice? Now we have Tripura Sundari added to those words. It is a present perfect active voice, not passive voice. Please remember, active voice, not passive voice. It is a subject has helping verb been, the primary auxiliary be used as a main verb. Been. It has been something, it has been what? Possible. Active voice. And before that, data. Already we have got some students have just come up with the related words. Datum singular. These are words, nouns of Latin and Greek origin. But data, when you use as a plural of datum, it takes a plural verb. But data can also be a collective noun. When it is used as a collective noun, it takes a singular verb. That means what? Data are, data is, both are correct. Following the Supreme Court of India ordered release of the final tranche of data from the State Bank of India, it has now been possible to get a nearly complete picture of electoral financing, which was once an opaque route. Before the disclosure of the electoral information related to electoral bonds, people did not know who bought, who donated, which party got benefited, how they used the funds. It was all opaque. It was an opaque route, which was once passed, an opaque route. Opaque, what is opposite? Transparent, opaque route. But now everything is clear, and we have got almost not complete picture, nearly complete picture. This is also an important expression you have to remember. The SBI had to release, again, remember, before a bank, any bank for that matter, we have to use a definite article, the. The SBI, the Punjab National Bank, the Canara Bank. Any bank, you have to use a definite article, the. The SBI had to release an important helping verb. What is the helping verb here? Please answer what is the function of have to. Have to for I, we, you, they. Other pronouns has to. What are the other pronouns? Third person singular. He, she, it. What is the function of the helping verb have to or has to? It is used to express an obligation imposed by an external authority or a situation. In this context, a situation. The SBI had to release. Why a situation? Because the Supreme Court forced the SBI to release or disclose information. It did it. That means it had to. You have to remember it isn't past. SBI has to, past, SBI had to. Because of the force from the Supreme Court. It was prodded by the Supreme Court. There was a deadline also, and the SBI could not honor the deadline. Finally, it honored. The SBI had to release the data of the unique numbers for electoral bonds purchased by corporate and individual donors and later encashed by political parties. What is this electoral bonds? Imagine electoral bond purchased by a particular company or a particular individual. Then they donate these electoral bonds to a particular party. Here it could be corporate giants, companies, firms, or it could be individuals, business people. They donate to political parties. And in turn, political parties, what do? They encash. And once they encash, the money is used where? At the time of elections, it is used for campaigning. This is the actual thing. The SBA had to release data of the unique numbers for electoral bonds purchased by corporate and individual donors and later encashed by political parties. That the SBI had to be prodded twice. Had to be prodded. Is it active voice or passive voice? Here it is passive voice. The Supreme Court had to prod the SBI, active voice. The Supreme Court had to be prodded twice by the court. Which court? The Supreme Court. That the SBI had to be prodded, pushed twice by the Supreme Court to release these chunks of data, major part of something, chunks of data. In the first instance, they were without the unique numbers. Initially, they were without the unique numbers that could connect donors with parties. Imagine there's a unique number, then we can connect the donor and the parties. Or whoever purchases and donates, and the party, whichever party receives, we can connect these two. Without the unique numbers, that is not possible. In the first instance, they were without the unique numbers that could connect donors with parties. Is an indictment of the bank, which had initially sought an extension till June 30th, 2024, well after the general election to release the information. The SBI wanted time. The SBI wanted time till June 30th. Now, June 30th, 2024, well after the general election, it wanted that time till June 30th to release the information. It is an indictment, means what? Officially charging someone of something that is wrong, which had initially, it is sought, had sought past perfect tense. First action, past perfect. On the other hand, it took only a few hours. SBA wanted so much time. Now it talks about something on the other hand, an important phrase. On the other hand, it took only a few hours, not days also. It took only a few hours for news organizations to perform a simple data matching exercise to connect the two sets of information. SBI wanted so much time, but on the other hand, the news organization took only a few hours to connect a simple data matching exercise to connect two sets of information. One on the companies that had purchased the bonds, and the other one on the parties that had encashed them. There are two entities over here. One, the companies that had bought the bonds, the other, the parties that had encashed. And to match these two, the news organizations took only a few hours. A cursory look, a quick look, hasty look at the data reveals, discloses the inefficacy. There's one important word, efficacy. We have got so many times, that's why I haven't brought that word. But I always tell the word efficacy goes with medicine. Efficacy of a particular medicine means efficiency. Inefficacy means inefficient. A cursory look at the data reveals the inefficacy of the argument for the need for opacity. The government wanted opacity regarding electoral bonds, but here it shows that no need of opacity, not required. A cursory look at the data reveals the inefficacy of the argument for the need for opacity of electoral bonds that had been propounded by the union government. The union government proposed or propounded opacity, but one soundly rejected by the court. The court rejected that particular thing. The court said no need of opacity. Now, what is the net result? For one, there seems to be a clear correlation between large donations being made to certain political parties. There is a correlation, means what? Something is connected. For one, there seems to be, present tense, there seems to be a clear correlation between large donations being made to certain political parties and bond purchasers receiving high value infrastructure contracts. It's like mutual benefit. A particular company buys an electoral bond, crores of rupees worth crores of rupees, donates to a particular political party, especially the party in power. In return, what does the company get? The company receives high value infrastructure contracts. Infrastructure contracts, the stakes are very high, runs into crores of rupees. Obviously, there's a correlation between the two. In some cases, there's a strong correlation between entities being subject to actions or facing probes by the Enforcement Directorate and the Income Tax Department, and later these entities or their representatives purchasing bonds. There are two dimensions over here. One dimension goes with a particular company buys electoral bond, gives it to the party in power. In return, it gets the projects related to infrastructure. On the other hand, there's one more dimension. What is the other dimension? A particular company or a particular individual being chased by enforcement directorate or income tax department. Then the company or the individual buys electoral bonds and donates to a particular party in power. In return, the enforcement directorate or income tax department, they don't try to follow that particular individual, and the individual goes scot free. As simple as that. This is especially so for many donors who purchased these bonds that were later encashed by the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. I would like to reiterate all this is based on the editorial, completely objective, not subjective, not my opinion, opinion of the editorial. Editorial says this is especially so for many donors who purchased these bonds that were later. Again, later you have to be alert. I have given so many times later, latest. And what is the other word? Latter and last. First one deals with time, and this one deals with position. You got to be very careful under pressure. Encashed by the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, that the top 19 firms, based on the cumulative size of donations made together, cumulative, adding on, and went on to invariably fund the BJP. It says that the top 19 firms, based on the cumulative size of donations made, the top 19 firms went on to invariably, without any exception, fund the BJP. Besides other parties, from mid 2019 to February 2024, 22 firms donated 100 crore or more in this period. Also suggests, all this suggests what? Also suggests that the bonds were a device. Again, you have to be alert. Devise a verb, plan something. Devise a gadget, usually a tool. Here it is a noun, and the first one is a verb. You got to be careful under pressure. It is not, all this suggests that the bonds were a device, a tool used to curry favor. Curry favor means what? Flattery. Flatter someone to get some gain. Curry favor with the establishment. Establishment has two different meanings. I've given many a time. One meaning establishment means the government. the government in power. And the other one, it goes with an individual too. Imagine a person is very serious, disciplined, not quite social, a little isolated approach, aloof, reserved. We say he is an establishment. He is an establishment, means not friendly, rather serious and strict. The presence of a unique identifier for these bonds in the hands of the SBI, which could allow it to keep an audit trail. Again, you have to recollect trial goes with court. What is the word here? Trail. Trail means what? When you lost, let's say you lost your way, and wherever you go, you leave something behind, either a few stones or once you get hurt, your blood marks. And wherever you go, the drops, people can see the blood drops. They follow the blood drops or the follow the marks, the clues provided by you. That is known as trail. The presence of a unique identifier for these bonds in the hands of the SBI, which could allow possibility, chances are less, it to keep an audit trail of transactions, and that the finance ministry had allowed certain bonds to be encashed even after their expiry date. Now finance ministry has come into picture. Finance Ministry had allowed past perfect first action, certain bonds to be encashed even after their expiry date. Within 15 days of the purchase date, they should encash within 15 days of the purchase date, but allowed. Showed, again, what does it show? Showed that the scheme had also created undue advantage for the ruling party. What does it show, or what did it show? It showed the scheme had also created undue advantage, undue importance means not deserving, undue advantage for the ruling party. It is clear that the bonds had skewed campaign, distorted in the sense, imagine there are two parties. One particular party, for campaigning, you need a lot of money. One particular party had only 10 crores. Another party had 100 crores. Obviously, the party with 100 crores can go in for massive campaigning, extensive campaigning, and they can make their presence felt at the time of elections. They will have the advantage. It is clear that the bonds had skewed campaign and party financing heavily in the favor of the ruling party. That is the opinion of the editorial. Besides, in addition to that, putting a veil means what? Cover over the unscrupulous motivations for the donations. A cover over the unscrupulous, legally, morally not acceptable motivations for the donations. There's one important word you have to know: ulterior motive. Because based on the word motivations, I'm giving this. Ulterior motive means what? Selfish motive. This is also a negative word. A mask also you can say hidden, concealed, camouflage, covert, masked. Very good, Anusha. How does the editorial end? It is now incumbent. We have got this word many a time. What is the typical meaning? Incumbent chief minister, the chief minister in power. But here it means responsibility, obligation, obligatory. It is now obligatory upon civil society. It is now incumbent upon civil society to enlighten the electorate, means the common man, the public at the time of elections, enlighten the electorate about the scheme and to raise questions about the skewed nature of donations, distorted ulterior motives of the donations. People should be people should know what are the intentions behind. There should be some sort of awareness to be created. This will just be the first step to cleansing the system, to make the system clean. It ends on that particular note. That's all about the editorial. Let us go to questions based on this editorial to improve your comprehension skill. Read the first one and try to get the answer. What is the primary focus of the editorial? Primary focus. Ordinal numbers, the first, the second, the third, very good. Raise, rise, very good. Naidu, then Divya. I appreciate your contribution. Please answer this question. What is the primary focus of the editorial? Criticizing the State Bank of India's efficiency in data release, analyzing the impact of electoral bonds on campaign financing seems to be right. Hold that one. Praising the transparency measures taken by the government, highlighting the success of the ruling party. Answer is a B. According to the editorial, I repeat, according to the editorial, what is the relationship between large donations to political parties and certain actions taken by the government? There is no discernible relationship. Discernible means distinct, obvious, you can make out. Donations lead to increased scrutiny by government agencies. No. Large donations correlate with recipients receiving high value contracts, high value infrastructure related contracts, clearly mentioned. What is the editorial stance or stand on the State Bank of India's role, SBI's role, in releasing data on electoral bonds? It praises the bank? No. It criticizes the bank for initially withholding crucial data. Hold this one. It commends, commend means praise, commendable job, praiseworthy job. It suggests the bank had no role in the electoral bond scheme. So, what is the answer here? The Supreme Court has criticized, and also the editorial, it criticizes the bank for initially withholding important data, crucial data. According to the editorial, again, which political party, this is a silly question in my opinion, predominantly benefited from the electoral bonds? Throughout the editorial, one particular party, the editorial touches, the party stands out. Which party is that? Which party has received or got benefited because of the electoral bonds to a great extent? Indian National Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP. Obviously, an easy question, rather silly question. What action does editorial propose as a solution to the issues raised? Easy, very easy, in fact. Increase government intervention in corporate donations. What is the suggestion for what is the solution? Maintain the status quo regarding electoral financing, create more stringent regulations on political parties, raise awareness among civil society, and question the system. Answer is D. That's all for today. Today also, because of hectic schedule, I could not bring questions based on exam topics. I will do it tomorrow. Please wait. Same situation, no change at all. Have a nice day and do remember to subscribe and share. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much.